Some NHL fans in Canada say they're feeling a little gouged. Sportsnet has hiked its fees for its subscription-only service.
Isn't Mark Carney just the biggest buffoon? Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Mark Carney thinking it was a good idea to send out a tweet that he's enjoying a blues festival. Well, Canadians are struggling and suffering because they've lost their jobs because of tariffs, and he's not negotiating a deal with Donald Trump. Smart move. Also considering our economy is absolutely crumbling right now as money is fleeing Canada and going to America. We're talking billions of dollars. This does not look good. Let's jump into this. What we have here to some people on surface level might not seem like much. This is quite the story. Mark Carney enjoyed a night out at a blues festival. Well, to do that though, he essentially shut down multiple Ottawa streets, called out the cavalry to clear everything out for him, wasting our tax dollars. Meanwhile, he's supposed to be getting a deal for Canadians. Look at this. So posted by Chris Dacey here. Mark Carney made an appearance at Ottawa Blues Fest last night. The mounted unit was deployed near the gates while he was there. So just, copyright once again. But look at this. There's police cars blocking this off. They've got the mounted police. This is ridiculous. We need a trade deal. We don't need Mark Carney enjoying a blues night. There's no blues nights until you get a deal. This guy was just in Australia on vacation. Oh, and a little update on that. So Muskoka, information is a little spotty, but apparently the Muskoka trip is coming up. It hasn't happened yet. So they're going to be going over there. I guess security is very tight. And that's at the Deerhurst Resort in Muskoka. So I guess that's going to be happening in the next week here. Regardless, so Mark Carney's had a vacation in Australia. He comes back, works for like a day or two, shuts down some of the streets of Ottawa to enjoy a blues fest. You notice the space around him here. They likely cleared out a section here. He's not pressed up against the people. This is ridiculous. Alrighty, Aphrodite, great set tonight at Blues Fest. Does this guy think this is good optics? People have lost their jobs, dude. They don't care about you going to Blues Fest. They want you to get your butt to work and get people's jobs back. They want the tariffs gone. They want a trade deal. This guy's such a loser. He only cares about himself. He is such a pompous, smug loser. He's worse than Trudeau. Much worse. Biggest loser in Canada. Closed ERs. You're supposed to be working on the problems that are closing ERs and maternal health and autism. Don't cut a carbon tax and call it a day. Are you an oil executive or a PM of Canada? Ooh, you found time to fit a concert between endless junkets of chum around with your Euro elite friends. Maybe you should consider getting a trade deal done with our biggest and closest trade partners. Once that is done, maybe you can go party again. These comments, people are just destroying him. I mean, they're posting these stupid elbows up memes as well, but something else to mention, these elbows up memes, like this whole motion, I'm not going to do it, but think of what this symbolizes. Rallying people behind a motion. There is a motion, I'm not going to do it, but there's a motion that funny mustache guy did from WW2. How is it really any different? That guy was able to inspire people a certain way, brainwash them, take control of the masses, and then we ended up with WW2. I'm not saying that Mark Carney's going to do that, but it looks like they're reading from that playbook a little bit, learning some lessons on how to control the population. It is scary how easily brainwashed our population is. Luckily, half the people, nearly half of Canadians, are not dumb and have critical thinking skills, but unfortunately we have 8.5 million Canadians who just can't see through the basics, what this guy really stands for. Next up, we got Canada's fiscal situation here is very grim. It's collapsing. We've got Pierre Poilievre posting this. Carney plans to borrow more money this year than any government in Canadian history. Let me say that again. Carney plans to borrow more money than any government in Canadian history, even more than Trudeau did during the world event. The big binge is getting worse, not better. Carney costs more than Trudeau. No wonder core inflation is rising and people can't afford to live. Inflation has a run out time. It's a delay of about a year and a half to 2 years. So things will get perpetually worse in Canada. This is not getting better. This is getting worse because brainwashed population of this country voted for this guy. We got table salt with this one. Breaking: investors continue to flee Canada. Stats can. Both Canadian and international investors continue to move their money out of Canada, with almost $100 billion having left Canada since February. $100 billion since February. 90% of the money is moving to the United States. No kidding it is, because Mark Carney is essentially the second president of America. He's like the president junior. He's not a Canadian PM. He's not serving us. You can see the numbers here. December 2024 to May 2025. We got foreign investment in Canadian securities, Canadian investments in foreign securities, net inflow, outflow funds, minus $34 billion. minus 19.8 billion, minus 13, minus 16. That is $100 billion. I wouldn't be surprised if Carney called up these investors and said, hey, get the money out of Canada because I'm going to tank it. And he has no problem with that because he's barely invested in Canada. All his money's in America. I feel like Poilievre's capital tax break for Canadian investments could have solved this, but we went full steam elbows up instead. The problem is a lot of people in Canada think, let's just fight back. Let's stick our elbows up. They like that idea, fighting back, but they didn't know the numbers. They don't know that America's economy is 12.7 times bigger than ours. Imagine if you had an army and you went to go fight another army. And back in the day, they would line up like Braveheart and then they would charge at each other and fight. Well, what if you did that, but one of them had 13 times the people than the other side? You wouldn't run into that because you know you'd get completely annihilated. The problem is 8.5 million Canadians in Canada didn't know that. They didn't bother to research it. They just thought, elbows up. It's an easy slogan. We're fighting back. They feel like they're fighting back by saying that, but really it comes back to the funny mustache guy from WW2. It's inspiring people in a way that you can take advantage of them, take control, give them a form of a salute in the elbows up to make them feel like they're connected to a movement fighting back against Donald Trump and the Americans, when really they did not know the gravity of the situation. They voted for Mark Carney thinking he would fight back. They didn't research it, and now they put us in a terrible position, even worse than we were with Justin Trudeau. Canadian investors acquire US shares. Of course they do, because Canada's economy sucks. Canadian investors increased their exposure to foreign securities by $13.4 billion in May, an increase compared with $4.1 billion in April. That's over a 3 times jump. In May, investors targeted US shares while reducing their exposure to US government debt instruments. There's no trust in our economy anymore because it's tanking because of the Liberals. Why would someone vote for this again? Canada is gone. The invasion was successful. I don't know what will save Canada at this point. A full-blown revolution? Pitchforks? What is it? I don't know. There's a glimmer of hope that people wake up and we get another election within the next year. That's what the only thing will save us at this point. Mark Carney's conflicts of interest, they're too rampant. People will see this and hopefully wake up. They have to wake up. We can't have sheep in this country anymore. If they wake up, we've got a chance. Next up, we got this CTV national report here. Students can't get jobs.
Here at one of Canada's biggest malls, it's a hunt.
Just resume after resume.
For teens.
I applied to like 150 jobs, and I didn't get anything.
Chasing down jobs.
It's honestly almost impossible to get a job anywhere now.
Antonio De Silva has been searching for months, now knowing all the summer roles might already be filled up.
The businesses as well, not opening up enough, or just creating enough job opportunities for the new generation incoming.
According to the latest jobs report, unemployment for students who want to work summer jobs has climbed this year to more than 17%, not including the first year of the pandemic. That's a number not seen since 2009 when Canada was in a recession.
This has been a brutal summer for students to look for a job. The openings are just not there.
The trade war with the U.S. getting the blame for the downturn, with many companies hit hard by U.S. tariffs on Canadian imports.
In the last few months, companies have had no idea where the economy is going. The last thing they're going to want to do is take on a few extra heads for the summer.
The border city Windsor, for example, topped all cities in Canada with an 11.2 overall unemployment rate. In second was Peterborough at a 10% jobless rate.
At this point, we are very much, the canary in the coal mine on the trade dispute with the U.S.
All of it leaving some economists to believe that another recession may be on its way. Companies so far appear to be playing it safe when hiring, not knowing what curveball the U.S. will throw next.
There's been some caution that employers have undertaken just because the situation could really go in multiple directions.
And economists add the silver lining continues to be that Canada is not in a recession just yet, despite facing months of tariff threats. And this June, the economy actually added more than 80,000 jobs, with companies still investing, showing Canada's resilience through all of this. Kamel Karamali.
Don't worry, green tech Mark Carney will get us involved in. We'll save everything. This is what you get after 10 years of liberal rule in this country. While this has been heightened by Trump's tariffs, this problem was already here before Trump came along. And we got this one from Melissa. It says, yikes, Canada saw $16 billion in capital leave Canada in May, $84 billion over 4 months, fourth consecutive month where outflows dominated. We can't have this much money leaving Canada. We just can't. Smart move as long as they keep mentioning net zero and the price on carbon. Keep your investments away from Canada. Most businesses are regulated and overtaxed. Isn't that the truth? As long as they keep saying net zero, people aren't going to invest here. We got this one from the Western Standard. It says Ottawa's Indigenous appeasement is bankrupting Canada. It's hitting us from all fronts. I mean, $32 billion every year. And now Mark Carney announced the other day, instead of $5 billion for Indigenous investments, it's $10 billion. Just more money just flying out of nowhere. Where's it coming from? It's not his bank account. He's cutting the public service, the very people that he tricked into voting for him. Will that pay for it though? I don't know. I don't think so. What needs to happen here is we need to look at our immigration system and we need to prioritize the countries that provide the most GDP. The people that come here that get jobs that work in Canada, we should be prioritizing those countries more, as well as age brackets more that provide more GDP to this country. Instead, what are they doing? They're allowing people to bring in their grandparents and their parents, which is just going to overburden our healthcare system. There's no other reason for this aside from just making money. Is it just a money-making scheme at the demise of Canada and they don't care? That's what it looks like, because they're not going to just destroy it just for the fun of it. Maybe they're just sick and twisted, but really with most things, it comes down to money. When it comes to business, it's all about money. Got this one. Canada 5-year keeps climbing after today's inflation print. Higher fixed rates inbound, harder renewal wall, more stress on the housing market. This is the Canada 5-year bond. We don't want this to be high. The government has to keep offering a higher rate to entice buyers. You want this low, not high. This just shows that people don't want to invest in Canada, so they have to increase the rate to make it more enticing. This basically says that our economy sucks. Moving ahead, we've got more increases in Canada. This time it comes to hockey subscriptions, because that's a good way to piss off Canadians.
Some NHL fans in Canada say they're feeling a little gouged. Sportsnet has hiked its fees for its subscription-only service. The premium package went up $75 for the year. The basic package is up $50. Customers have been taking to social media expressing their frustration, but Rogers Sports and Media, the company that owns Sportsnet, did not offer a reason for the increase. Patrick Johnston is the sports columnist.
I know what the reason is. It's greed. That's what it is.
For the province newspaper here in British Columbia, and wrote about this. So a 30% jump in the premium package. I got to admit, I have that package. I want to watch Edmonton Oilers games, but I live in Vancouver. Am I going to get my money's worth?
Well, I mean, that's become the talking point all the last 2 seasons, really. Your stream drops out. You don't know when your show is going to be on. You can't find it if you miss the game. Certainly the criticism, I think a lot of this is being driven by frustration with the service itself. You know, of course, there is the other thought about it in general.
So they go on to blast the service being terrible and they just increase the price. That just tells you everything. Garbage service by a garbage company. Thanks, Rogers. They have a monopoly on this. That's why they can increase the price. Next up, we've got Daniel Smith opening Pandora's box here with another video from the Alberta Next series of referendum talks going on. This one talking about taxation and whether Alberta should be collecting the taxation and dealing with that instead of Ottawa.
One idea being discussed by the panel is Alberta collecting all provincial personal income taxes, rather than having Ottawa do it for us. Today, when Albertans file and pay their personal income taxes, they do so through the Canada Revenue Agency, which then remits the provincial portion of those personal income taxes back to the provincial government. However, Alberta businesses file and pay their provincial corporate taxes directly to the provincial government. Quebec does it differently. They collect both personal and corporate income taxes directly from Quebecers, bypassing the CRA altogether. What if Alberta did the same? There would definitely be startup and ongoing administration costs, but it would also mean bringing good-paying jobs to Alberta instead of funding federal employees in other parts of the country. Under Canada's Constitution, levying and collecting taxes is an area of provincial jurisdiction, and Alberta could transition over the coming years to collecting our personal income taxes, as we do with corporate taxes now. So what are some of the benefits to Alberta collecting its own personal income taxes? 1. Better provincial tax policy. Currently, Alberta sets its own tax rates and credits, but definitions and treatments of income are still largely tied to federal rules, which limits our flexibility to implement more effective and competitive tax policy. We saw this recently when the federal government changed the rules on capital gains for doctors and other professionals, and Alberta was effectively forced to follow those same rules as it related to provincial personal income taxes. If Alberta were to collect its own taxes, we could tailor our entire tax framework to better reflect our economic realities and provincial policy goals. While
the Liberals have opened Pandora's box here. I mean, Alberta separatist movement is growing. Prosperity Project in Alberta is huge. They have a huge following now. While Daniel Smith isn't campaigning on separation, she's doing quite literally the opposite. She's using this as a strong negotiating tactic, a little scare tactic, and it's working. The Liberals are scared because once Canadians start thinking about this, they're like, maybe we shouldn't be a part of Canada because the Liberals keep screwing us over. And if things don't get better, you have a situation like we saw with Quebec in the 90s, voting to separate. And that vote came down to like a couple percentage points.
Declining federal changes to certain portions of tax policies that detrimentally affect provincial income tax policy. This could open the door to streamlining calculations and simplifying provincial income taxes for Alberta residents. 2. Jobs and economic opportunity at home. Collecting our own taxes would also mean establishing the infrastructure and staffing to support it, creating thousands of good, high-paying jobs right here in Alberta, instead of funding positions in Ottawa or other provinces. 3. More Alberta, less Ottawa. By moving away from the federal administration of the CRA and collecting provincial income taxes by ourselves, Alberta can exercise more direct control over a core aspect of self-government, thereby increasing our provincial independence from Ottawa. But there are also potential drawbacks to consider. 1. A long-term commitment. Establishing Alberta's own personal income tax collection agency would not happen overnight. Estimates suggest it could take up to 5 years to fully build out the necessary systems and staffing. This would be a major logistical undertaking that would require a sustained commitment from Albertans and their government. 2. Significant financial investment. The estimated cost to implement Alberta's own tax agency ranges from $750 million to $1.5 billion over several years. Once operational, the system could cost up to $750 million annually and require hiring as many as 5,000 new public employees.
I mean, think about how much money gets sent to Ottawa and doesn't go back to Alberta. You would easily be able to pay for all this stuff, all that lucrative oil money.
These are substantial expenses that must be weighed against the benefits. 3. Potential for added complexity. There are also practical implications for taxpayers and businesses. Albertans would need to file separate federal and provincial tax forms, although online filing would likely ease that burden. There may also be increased complexities for businesses and Albertans working in different provinces throughout the year.
My take on this is this would probably be beneficial for Alberta. The thing is it wouldn't be beneficial to the rest of Canada, obviously. Most notably, though, to conservatives in Canada, not in Alberta, because if Alberta separates, then Canada will never see another conservative government. That's what scares me, considering I live in British Columbia, which is being ruled by the absolute buffoon David Eby.